Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Irv Homer Show. Today is Wednesday, August the 20th, in the year 2008. And once again, let me remind you that it is 6 o'clock in daylight saving time on the East Coast. And we do the program at 6 o'clock until the fall, when we will start a new time where more folks can tune into it live. And with the archive that is available now, you can get the program at any time you want to and replay it and listen for what it's worth, or take excerpts out. Once again, we're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. That's broadcasting from irvhomer.com. Our website is www.irvhomer.com. And you can email me at evilerv@irvhomer.com. The email address, once again, evilerv@irvhomer.com. I've received quite a few emails from folks about chelation therapy that I'm a strong advocate of. That is a way to cleanse your arteries of radicals and to cleanse your arteries of plaque. I'm a strong believer in it. It works for me. Once again, I do not recommend doctors, lawyers, or accountants or automobile dealers. I only recommend sponsors. And that is after I thoroughly check them out. Right now we have no sponsors, but we will be working on that in the future. We're just getting our feet off the ground. Of course, it's going to be very difficult to get sponsors when you listen to the type of program that I do. And so we will continue to do the program without sponsors, since the cost is being underwritten by me as a result of some type of therapeutic action. Many folks have said I sound angry on the air. Let me say this, folks, I am not angry at anything. I am frustrated, yes. Sometimes the frustration appears to be that I'm in anger, but I'm not in anger because I've got nothing to be angry about. My life, fortunately, has been one of very good, a good life from the time I was a child, with a home atmosphere, married, and had a family, and content with the results. So, and a new person in my life since my wife passed away. But my life has been pretty good. I've got no complaints, and I just wish for you the type of life that I have when you reach the age of my age, which is unimportant. Once again, my frustration, ladies and gentlemen, on what I hear on radio, and I guess it's like an old fire horse, you know, the fire dog rather. The dog retires, but every time a fire engine goes by, the dog wants to jump on the fire engine and go to the fire. And that is that most of my information I get from sources that I've accumulated over the past 40 years of being in the broadcast business, connections that I've made, politicians, professors, learned men, scholars, doctors, etc., lawyers, etc., and so forth, people who I recognize for their ability as human beings rather than for the skills that they've managed to reach and to attain. And so my perspective is a perspective of life that I've developed on my own and have been unable to present on commercial radio or commercial television. I was at a commercial radio station this week, and a couple of the salesmen who I have made a lot of money for. Make no mistake about it. There are many salesmen out there in the marketplace today who I made a lot of money for, as being a very successful talk show host in the Philadelphia market and generating a lot of revenue through advertisers that advertised on my program. And they want to know what I was doing. Some knew about this type of format that I've instituted here with RGH Computer Services. And I'll give you their phone number if you're interested, or if you have a problem with your computer, or if you're interested in setting up a program like this in your place of business, your office, your automobile showroom. It's very simple to do. It's cost acceptable. And if you want to contact RGH Computer Services, you just contact them at 215-322-8685, 215-322-8685, and Ron will, or Steve will take you through the procedure on how to set this type of program up for you personally, you too can become a television star. You'll excuse me, we don't have a cough button. Now, we do have a message board, and you can type into the message board, and Ron, my executive producer here and general right-hand man, will give me the questions, and I will be glad to answer them during the program in the next hour. But let's get back to my frustration level, and that is due to sometimes when I'm in the car, I don't make it a habit of being locked into listening to talk radio or talk television, but I do from time to time. And I have to say, in all honesty, I think about the stupidest person on talk radio, syndicated that is Michael Medved. And the technique that is being used today is an abomination to talk radio. Anyone who calls these talk people, unless you agree with them, is a fool or an idiot or both. They will cut you off and say thank, and then tear you apart and never let you present your argument or your point of view. And it takes skill to do it because they're programmed on how to do it. We were programmed on how to do it, but fortunately the owners of WWDB, where I was one of the leading talk show host on the station, was very lenient in letting callers make their point of view as long as they were within reason. They showed a certain amount of intellectualism, but you don't get that today. You get buffoons like this Michael Medved, who for some reason or other I gravitate to. And I made Michael an offer today through his producer, and I know he won't take me up on it. And because of his total idiocy on 990 AM, that advertises itself as intelligent conservative radio, is an oxymoron if I ever heard one. And Michael Medved is the type of Jew that led other Jews in Germany into the ovens. I repeat, Michael, I hope this gets to you from some Jewish organization that may be watching this program, or some B'nai B'rith or Anti-Defamation League, but you are the typical Jew that complied with the wishes of the German Nazi Party with your stupidity, masquerading as intellectualism, masquerading as an expert, when A, you probably have 2 computers in front of you and 2 television screens and 4 producers feeding you information as soon as something pops up. But you are a disgrace to the Jewish religion and the Jewish faith. And so I made an offer through his producer that I'd be willing to pay for 1 hour of advertising on his program to debate him for 1 hour on his stupidity in points of interest that I have developed in listening to him, not out of context, but listening to him in total. And I don't know, I know it's swimming upstream, and I make the analogy that I'm the type of person, and I guess if I were an animal, I would be a salmon. I would be the one that swims upstream, and the only thing that happens to a salmon, 3 things happen to a salmon. It either gets caught and is fed to you in a restaurant, or a bear eats it, or it goes upstream and dies after it mates. But I will continue to do that until the message gets out that talk radio in America today is a fraud. A fraud, complete and total fraud. It is illegal for talk show hosts, in my opinion, and former FCC regulations, to specifically state a particular political candidate, a political party, where the airways belong to the people. They should present both sides and let you, the public, determine who you want to vote for. But they monopolize the airways in promoting a particular philosophy or ism, And they blame the so-called networks of doing it as liberals. And I can't emphasize enough the point that when all points of view are presented on the network by reporters, by embedded reporters, by moderators, by news people, they encompass the entire story. And by hearing the entire story, many of you folks think, well, look at the extreme liberals that they are. No, they're presenting all the points of view in a particular story. They will not fall victim to the nonsense that we're winning in Iraq and Afghanistan because of the purge. They will point out that there have been 12 generals in the last almost 8 years that have resigned or quit or have been dismissed from being the head of that until they found a patsy named Petraeus, who should have been court-martialed when he was sent to Afghanistan and Iraq because there was $3 billion worth of army material that was sent there that's unaccounted for. And in 2.5 years prior to his promotion as the leader of this surge, he never found out where the $3 billion worth of your tax dollars went. So the military, like any other government agency, when you're a failure, they promote you. And so Petraeus had been promoted from first-class idiot for failing to do the job that he was sent to the Middle East originally to do, and made him a commander by giving him 30,000 more troops and about 20,000 more civilians. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, there are about 160,000 civilians in Afghanistan and Iraq with their own security army, their own army. They don't depend on the Afghan army. They don't depend on the Iraqi army. They have their own security, their own police department, their own army, and their own government. They operate independent, paying them thousands of dollars in tax-free salaries to cover up the fact that we don't have enough military men to do the job. And it's all in black and white. Now, when they report that on the news media, on the 6 or 11 o'clock news, they're considered to be liberals, slanted liberals. They're anti-American. They're not patriotic. But these are the facts. That's why we have a projected $9 trillion debt that the next president is going to have to face up to. And we're going to have to face up to it. So this talk radio that you hear is a fraud. And the fact that they give you suckers an opportunity to make a 2-line or a 3-line statement and claim that it is fair and balanced broadcasting is a disgrace. When's the last time you ever sat in a legitimate debate that lasted 3 minutes? Or 2 minutes? Or 1 minute? Oh, we have to pause for a hard break. We have to pause for a soft break. We have to pause for the news. We have to pause for the traffic. We have to pause for the weather. While Boobus America will sit there holding onto a telephone, anxiously waiting to talk to these idiots as long as you make them sound good. So I made this offer today, and I have no idea how much revenue Medved generates on 990 AM. So it may cost me $50,000 or $100,000. I don't know. But my frustration level has been reached with this clown. This, I don't know, I'll try to be as gentle as I can with this so-called idiot Jew. And the guy laughed. I said, here's my name, my phone number, my address. You check my website, you'll find out who I am. Then get back to me, young man, after you talk to Michael. Ladies and gentlemen, I made the same offer to Rush Limbaugh about 10 years ago. I made the same offer to Mark Simone in New York on WABC. I made the same offer to Michael Medved today. I won't hear from them. They do not want their ignorance challenged in any way, shape, or form, but they will blame the liberal media, and they will blame the liberal newspapers, and they will blame everything except themselves. They are so perfect that I can't understand why John McCain won't pick Rush Limbaugh to be the Vice President of the United States. I can't understand why John McCain wouldn't pick Michael Medved to be the Vice President of the United States. I can't believe why they wouldn't pick Michael Savage to be the Vice President. If these guys are so brilliant to the masses of audience that they have on 300 to 500 to 600 states, you would certainly think as patriotic Americans they would run for political office and make this one of the greatest countries in the world. Does that make sense to you? Makes sense to me. If we want the best and the brightest to be in our military, then why don't we want the best and the brightest to be in our political scene? They're not going to run for it. They're not going to give the cushy hundreds of millions of dollars that they make, making asses out of you, the callers, to be patriotic American politicians. They wouldn't do that. But it makes sense to me. If I was that brilliant, I would run for political office, which I did, knowing that I wouldn't win. But I can sit behind this television camera, behind the microphone, and tell you folks that in 1972 I did run for Vice President of the United States. And we were beaten by Spiro Agnew and Richard Nixon. And you know what a disaster that ended up to be. We have 3 questions on our message board. Yes, Ron.
Okay, the first one is, are we the new Nazi Germany with the infiltration of the media?
No, we're the new Nazi Germany by not being infiltrated, by asking for the conservative right-wing media. You see, people are under the impression that all dictators are left-wingers. There are right-wing conservative dictators. And if you take the conservative and the liberal and you go 180 degrees, they end up meeting each other. Yes, we are being led by Nazi propaganda on talk radio, on syndicated talk radio. Thank you for your question.
Next question, and pardon me if I mispronounce
That's
this.
right.
Petraeus married the head of the military school he attended and was shot in the chest during a so-called training exercise. Is he being groomed for the next Eisenhower?
No one will ever replace General Eisenhower, the general of the Allies, because we don't have wars. You've been misled to believe that Vietnam was a war. You've been misled to believe that Korea was a war. You're being misled that this Iraqi thing is a war. They're not wars. They're military actions. Korea was a police action. Vietnam was a police action. Iraq was a police. Desert Storm 1 was a police action, where President Bush's father went around with a checkbook signing up allies for us. And as long as we paid them, they were our allies. So nobody could replace the general of the caliber of Patton, even Westmoreland, Eisenhower, some of the great generals that we had. Petraeus will never make it. His history is too shallow. You search Petraeus' military record, it's not that great. They love these little so-called police actions so that they get what is known as promotion in grade. You must remember, folks, the only way a captain becomes a major or a major becomes a lieutenant colonel is when there's a war for them to get a promotion. In peacetime, they don't get promoted. So it is to their advantage, whether it be our army or any army, to get into a war to get that field promotion. Now, when we had declared wars, you had to show exemplary service to get that additional promotion. But you didn't get promotions during peacetime. Peacetime, generals don't get promoted. And so while they say nobody likes war, generals like war. Another thing that war gives us more medical advancements than peacetime. We have such technology today in dealing with prostheses, arms, legs, hands. Could never develop that in peacetime. We don't have the occasion for it. We don't have the occasion to solve some of the diseases and the viruses and the bacteria that flourish all around the world. But now we have millions of people coming into the United States and many people in the United States going out of the United States. We're inoculated against them. We're vaccinated against them. We bring West Nile virus in. We bring all of these things. We bring AIDS in. So war does serve a purpose. It gives us a lot of technology, a lot of medical advancements that we ordinarily wouldn't get in peacetime. And so the question is, what was the question again?
I hope you're being funny. You're being funny?
No, repeat it again.
Okay. Pachumas married the head of the military school he attended and was shot in the chest during a so-called training exercise. Is he being groomed for the next Eisenhower?
Well, the answer basically is no after that explanation. But let me tell you something interesting about John McCain, and I'll get to the next question in just a moment, Ron. There's two more? Okay, you can call in our message board and ask questions. Chat room, and I'll give you the answers. Little research on John McCain's military record. What you're not going to hear on the fake, phony talk show hosts of syndicated radio today. John McCain graduated West Point. There were 899 graduates in his class. John McCain graduated 894th. John McCain was 5 points away from the bottom of his graduating class at West Point. Did you hear that any place? Check it out. You'll find out it's so. And the next question, Ron, on our chat room
is, do you believe the decrease in violence in Iraq has been more in part to cash for corporation, to the Sunnis than the actual surge?
The lack of violence in Iraq and Afghanistan is violence against the Americans. That has diminished. However, just yesterday, 10 French soldiers were killed a short distance from Kabul and Afghanistan. Now, one of the things that you must know about war, that the Taliban and Al-Qaeda is familiar with, and many of you folks are not. In a war, to win it, you don't want to kill your opponent. Kind of mind-boggling, huh? Come on. When a soldier gets killed and blown up and he's dead, the only thing they have to do is pick that body up, retrieve it, and put it in a coffin and send it to Dover Air Base, where you're not allowed to see it, thanks to the Bush administration. But when you wound a serviceman, when you wound a soldier, or you wound civilians, you need 3 or 4 medics to treat them there, making the medics vulnerable to attack. And you must set up a field hospital to take care of that wounded veteran, which takes up another logistical nightmare to provide medical supplies, tents, oxygen, all of the things that you saw in the film MASH that you just thought was a fun joke, but you look at it and you'll know exactly what a MASH unit is like. So the ultimate goal is not to kill American soldiers, but to send them home with no legs and no arms and blind, and their heads and their faces distorted. Because right now, we welcome home those servicemen as heroes and women. Go over to Worthington Road, ladies and gentlemen. There's a military home there for retired veterans. What do you think when you see an old man or an old lady 50 years from now in a wheelchair, a grandma with one leg who served in Iraq? They're going to have to provide her with a wheelchair. They're going to provide her with a curb cut, have to provide her with some type of help, have to provide her with a $20,000 prosthesis. So the cost of the war today in injuring people is far better than killing them. You can kill a soldier with one bullet, placed right. You take his arm off, you're going to have to take care of him the rest of his life. You take her leg off, you're going to have to take care of her the rest of her life. And some of the permanent disability pensions are as high as $3,000 a month. And we have lost over 15,000 limbs. Only 4,000 dead. So being hard-nosed about this, you give them 20 grand insurance, whatever they had in military insurance, you pay it off and forget about it. Oh, you may give them a flag when they get buried in the military cemetery, and the politicians, oh, you got a military cemetery. The guy's dead. Big deal. You got him a place to die. I don't know of any dead bodies on the street anywhere. Don't bury me in a military cemetery, please. So the whole purpose now is to wound Americans, not kill them. Send them home. Let them get on the liberal television stations. When's the last time that Limbaugh, Medved, Michael Savage, Sean Hannity ever put a one-armed serviceman on their program, or a no-legged serviceman on their program? And this Hannity Combs garbage and the Hannity Sunday, when's the last time he had somebody sitting in a wheelchair with no legs that just came back from Iraq or Afghanistan? Think about it. Use your head. You're being conned by this radio and television syndication that's going on in America today. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but if Obama gets in and he doesn't show limbs and arms and legs, and you're paying for it, and read the French newspaper, listen to French radio, and see how they feel about them losing 10 soldiers yesterday. You don't give a damn about the French that are volunteering to fight for us in Afghanistan or Iraq, or the Greeks, or any of the other allies that we have. We don't give a damn about them. But if you were a Frenchman and your kid was in Iraq and Afghanistan, would you be happy with it? You think they have parades over there to support your troops? Use your head. Think a little bit. So the killing is still going on. You don't even... When is the last time in 7.5 years have you seen an anti-war... They talk about the liberal television, right? The network liberal... Do you know how many demonstrations, anti-war demonstrations there have been in America in the last 7.5 years that you never saw on this so-called liberal television networks? I think you saw one or two. So the liberal television network is kowtowing to this administration, but they don't want you to see any anti-war demonstrations. Why is it that every time President Bush went to only invited guests only, when he was here in Bucks County, only invited guests only? I thought he was the president of all the people. What's he afraid of? Cindy Sheehan, who lost her son, is anti-American because she demonstrated outside the president's farm or ranch rather, in Crawford, Texas. So think about, ladies and gentlemen, think. Yes, Ron?
Next one. Is that why all these people the government are detaining are called enemy combatants instead of prisoners of war?
It's one of the reasons, because there is no war. And that was one of the problems they have with the Geneva Convention. When you have a fraudulent law, you have a fraudulent defense, you have a fraudulent prosecution. Prisoners of war are treated under the Geneva Convention. Since they changed the name and made them enemy combatants, they don't come under the Geneva Convention. So Amnesty International will fight like mad. International Red Cross will fight like mad and scream and yell bloody murder. And attorneys will scream bloody murder. Don't give me new rules to play by. So when we have a war, they would be prisoners of war and incarcerated until this war is over. And I don't know when you're going to know the war is over. So you may have to hold them for the next 200 years. That's why they're called enemy combatants. What the hell is an enemy combatant? Guy that hijacks my car in a shopping center, he's an enemy combatant. So they give them these fancy names rather than declare war. There were 2 senators during the Vietnam War that went to the Supreme Court of the United States asking for a declaration of war against North Vietnam. Asked for that. We lost, 55,000 men in Vietnam? And the Supreme Court would not give them permission to introduce a war resolution? Oh no, we'll give the president the War Powers Act. Well, I don't want any president to have that power. I want the Constitution to be read and examined, and Congress shall have the right to declare war once the president asks for it. Not that them yellow-bellied, sneaking, lousy congressmen and senators, well, we don't want to declare war, so we'll give the president the War Powers Act, and he can come every 90 days for renewal of the War Powers Act. Is there evil in the world? Yes. Are there bad people in the world? I want to fight a war to win it, and when you're not in a war, you can't win. How will we know? Here's a question to pose to these nitwits on radio, and these nitwits on the... Mr. Medved, Mr. Limbaugh, could you tell me when we'll know we won? And how long do you think it's going to take? When General Wesley Clark, who graduated ahead of his class, not 5 from the bottom as John McCain, and Wesley Clark ran for President of the United States, when he said we may be there 50, 60, 70 years, they thought he was crazy. Well, how long have we been in Germany? How long have we been in Japan? How long have we been in over 90 countries around the world, ladies and gentlemen? So instead of voting for a Wesley Clark, a general, who could possibly have been an Eisenhower, and Admiral Sestak, who is now a congressman, who beat out the corrupt guy in Delaware County, had his daughter on the payroll, etc., we make Petraeus the hero. Any other questions?
Yeah, 2 more. Why did Bush not see the build-up at Georgia with our satellite tech? And was the USA military base in Georgia attacked? Last year, a documentary showed this base and how the USA were training Georgians to protect the oil line to Turkey, and how corrupt Georgia local governments are today.
No question. That was the part of the program we did the last time. That we've been training Georgia, which is the country that was a satellite of the Soviet Union at one time, and Lusatia, which is a breakaway part. We had troops there. We had their soldiers here training them. We supplied them with all the arms and ammunition. We wanted to surround Russia with NATO. which is the North American Treaty Organization. And Russia, after the defeat in Afghanistan, and they lost 16,000 soldiers there, and we were supplying, ladies and gentlemen, the Mujahideen, the Taliban, and Al-Qaeda with arms and ammunition to kill the Russians. Who do you think was the allies of those fighters who were fighting the Russians? We were. Is Limbrain, is Michael Medved, the self-hating Jew, going to tell you that? I had Mujahideen in my studio at WWDB, brought over by the John Birch Society, and interviewed them, and thanked the listeners of my program through an interpreter for the arms and ammunition and guns and batteries and bullets and bombs that we were sending them in Afghanistan to kill the Russians. Hate to tell you, but the Russians had every right to go into Georgia. And as I said on the last program to our great person who called in on the chat room, George Bush, President George Bush, was sitting 2 seats in front of Putin. Did we have intelligence? They put 150 tanks on the Georgian border. Didn't our satellites know they were there? We had troops in Georgia. Didn't they know where they were there? The cowboy could have turned around to Putin and say, hey, Vladimir, I got a problem. I just got a call from the... What are you doing with 150 tanks on the Georgian border? This person who is the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, looks into a former head of the KGB, the Secret Service, that was dedicated all of its life to kill America, and has the unmitigated stupidity to say, I looked into his eyes and I believe I can trust him. But you don't hear that from the John McCain supporters, and I don't know why the Democrats don't use that. The Democrats have got to be the dumbest people that ever ran. I'd like to know who's running their political campaign. But yes, what happened to our intelligence with that invasion of Georgia with Russian tanks? And how much did the Russians warn the Americans to get them servicemen out of Georgia so they wouldn't be killed by the Russian tanks? You must remember that when we invaded Iraq, we had warned Saddam Hussein, I think 8 times, that we will use force if necessary. We told the Russians, the Germans, and the French to get out of Iraq. They took 600 Russian technicians and Russia moved them out of Iraq. They took about 300 French and 300 German out of Iraq so that they wouldn't get killed when we invaded. Could it be that we knew about it and Russia warned us to move our troops out of Georgia, to move our training camp out of Georgia, to remove our weapon systems out of Georgia? These questions will never be asked by the talk show whores that are on syndicated radio today, and they're booba, stupid, damn, dumb. Oh no, I apologize. The stupid, damn, dumb, smart people can never get through to present those arguments to these guys. Because they got some two-bit punk producer who is given more instructions than a doctor that operates on your brain on how to make sure that the talk show host never looks bad. So yes, you're absolutely right. What happened to our intelligence? And was America warned to move our troops out of Georgia before the invasion?
And one more question. Congressman Ney from Ohio now claims he was set up by the GOP because he was opposing some Bush policies. Do you think he is grasping at straws, or does this have legs like Alabama's ex-governor?
When you are a politician and you are adhering to the party line, you break ranks with that party, you will not receive any money whatsoever from any perks that the federal government can give you. There is no question that the congressman has been set up. I can name a federal judge in Reno, Nevada, who said because the corrupt laws of the Internal Revenue Service are so bad and so corrupt and so non-descriptive, they removed him from the bench. Not because he did anything while he was on the bench, because he made a statement to the newspapers. They will plant fake stories. There was a congressman in Texas who was losing an election, who was a Democrat. But he broke ranks with the Democrat Party in Texas. In Texas, you talk about corruption. You don't want to get caught in Texas. They planted a story. The Democrats planted a story in the paper that they caught him in a whorehouse in Juarez, Mexico. He was never there. And after he lost the election, the head of the Democrat Party in Texas said, "We knew that, but by the time he would deny it, he lost the election." Planted a fake. Do you know the number of plant stories that that the media is complicit with planting false information in the media? There's no question in my mind that this man has been set up, and he's not crying wolf. We have any other questions on the chat room?
That's all of them right now.
Okay, we have a chat room available. If you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them for you. I'm Irv Homer, broadcasting from irvhomer.com. You can check my website at www.irvhomer.com. Our email address is evilirv@irvhomer.com. And this program is put together through the technical skills of RGH Computer Services. Their number is 215-322-8685. Let me repeat once again. Yes, indeed, John McCain served his country, spent 6 years in a Vietnam prison camp. No great pleasure to be there. But John McCain is not a military genius. 889 graduates in his class. He was fifth from the bottom. He still graduated, but it's no great honor to be fifth from the bottom. You're not going to hear it anyplace. So we've got the Taliban killing French soldiers, 10 French soldiers. The French media, Le Monde and other French papers, are going crazy. The French people are demonstrating like mad. And when we talk about demonstrations, we saw demonstrations against illegal immigration. We saw demonstrations for immigration. What's more important, ladies and gentlemen, a war or immigration? Illegal immigration in America, and why you won't stop it is because you want it. I want it. Yeah. I love illegal immigrants. I went to the diner last night. Guy gave me water, napkin, silverware, couldn't speak a word of English. I said, hablo Espanol? Yeah, you see. Guy cuts my grass. He's got 2 or 3 Mexicans. I don't know what they are. I say, thank you. He goes, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. You know, I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Ask the guy that cuts my grass. He got a green card. I can't find a white guy to shovel my snow. I can't find an unemployed black guy to cut my grass. I'm glad the illegal immigrants are here. What's your problem? Did you lose a job to some grass cutter? Name me a job that pays a halfway decent wage that any illegal immigrant took. Working in a poultry factory down in Delaware, the Delmarva Peninsula, which is the poultry capital of the world. They work there. You wouldn't want to work in a chicken factory where they kill chickens. It stinks so bad, you cannot believe what chicken crap smells like. And when you're about to kill a chicken, it craps. Make no mistake about it. You'll see white people coming out. You see illegal immigrants. Thank God for them. So there's a plus to it. But you want them. You want the illegal immigrant because you don't have to pay them a living wage. Let me see what else we've got here. Our chat room is open for more of your questions or calls.
Next Friday.
Pardon?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Valerie.
This coming Friday?
Next Friday.
Oh, next Friday, Valerie Morrison will be with us. Whoa, hang on to your shorts, folks. Valerie Morrison will be with us next Friday a week. Hear about gun control, we've got to take guns away. But, well, little article in the paper fascinated me. A 19-year-old broke into a woman's house. Only one problem. This 85-year-old lady was packing a gun. 85 years old, and she pointed the gun to him and said, I would suggest you don't move until I call the police. And so the police took little Bunky, 19 years of age, and Grandma, God bless you, people who carry legal weapons that the government would love to take away, both conservatives and liberals, don't kill people. We're very reluctant to fire that weapon. Illegal guns, people with illegal arms, yes. Leave the honest, legitimate, registered gun owner alone. Sorry if it was your kid that she held at gunpoint. I had mentioned on the last program about a great law firm in the city of Philadelphia. They're not an advertiser. I don't even know anyone from the law firm. But the law firm is Cozen and O'Connor. And you won't hear Michael Medved, the phony, or Limbrain, who makes $100 million a year and couldn't give a damn less if you're paying $4 a gallon for gasoline. Do you think for 1 minute that Rush Limbaugh gives a rat's ass about you paying $4 a gallon for gasoline when he tore down a $12 million mansion in Florida and built a $30 million mansion? You think he gives a rat's ass about you stupid idiots who yell ditto about you paying $4, even $3.55, a big deal. Gas is now $3.55 a gallon. Still cost you $40-45 to kill you for your car. You think he gives a damn about you? I know what these guys make. They make big bucks. They don't go into the supermarket to buy milk. They make big bucks. I made big bucks. And I don't even, now I'm starting to look at prices and I'm going, oh, okay, but it still don't bother me. So learn where you're getting your information from and who you're hooking your brain to instead of using your own brain. Let's get back to Cozen and O'Connor. They filed a lawsuit, and you have to forgive me if I refer to some notes here. They filed a lawsuit against Saudi Arabia and some principals in Saudi Arabia for the 9/11 attack. And of course, if I were on commercial radio with a more professional setup than this and had a much bigger audience that we are gaining daily, I would have gotten a representative Cozen O'Connor on the air with me to find out what this lawsuit was all about. Well, apparently in the court that they presented the case, they were turned down because, you ready for this? Unless the State Department of the United States says that the country is a terrorist country, you can't sue them. My little dog just belched. Excuse me, baby. The State Department told Cozen O'Connor and the judge in their decision that because the State Department did not consider Saudi Arabia to be a terrorist nation, they could not sue them. Yet the National Commerce Bank is owned by Saudi Arabia. The suit against the banks, Islamic charities, financiers, names, dates, and places and information that Cozen O'Connor, the law firm, drew up instituted the suit against Saudi Arabia and the National Commerce Bank. Now, this is not the Commerce Bank of the United States. I don't want some idiot listening halfway and saying, "Oh, Commerce Bank is bought there." I know it's going to happen. Somebody's going to call Commerce Bank. Did you hear what Irv Homer said? He said you people were financing Saudi Arabia terrorism. I know that you're going to do that. Don't do it. It's not this Commerce Bank. It is a national commerce bank owned by Saudi Arabia. Cozen O'Connor claims, as I do, and I've never been in touch with these folks, no way was 9/11 conducted by Osama bin Laden. No way. That was state-sponsored. The Wahhabi religion in Saudi Arabia is a religion that rules the waves in the Saudi family. Don't forget, this is a group of people who stole Persia and named it after themselves. Saudi Arabia is named after the House of Saud. That neat? Great people have as allies. They steal a country and then they name it after themselves. They're our allies. Does that make sense? You're not going to hear that on Lame Brain or Medved the Self-Hating Jew. You hear it here because I don't care. I tell the truth. Now, under disclosure, the court has now said you can't even get the information you want to continue the suit on appeal. So now they're filing a suit against that. I hope that Cozen O'Connor gets your support to find out where those terrorists were trained, who paid them, and if it was Saudi Arabia, think about it the next time you put oil or gas in your car, that we're responsible for the death of 3,000 people in the World Trade Centers. My hat's off to Cozen O'Connor, the law firm. I do give you my total and complete support in this fight to get the truth of 9/11. Who find it? You can't tell me that this skinny bearded nutcase, who's a genius with a $300 million a year income from a cave someplace in Bora Bora, put together the logistics to fly 15 terrorists in airplanes into the World Trade Center at Shanksville or into the Pentagon. You're not going to convince me. And thank God for law firms like Cozen O'Connor, who believes the same as I do. They still teach in the schools in Saudi Arabia, the Madras. That is to kill the infidel. That's us. We have no air bases in Saudi Arabia. We're not allowed to. So congratulations to Cozen O'Connor.
We do have a comment.
Yes.
Yes, the comment says, your buddy Michael Skrmanish is still whining about nobody chasing Osama bin Laden.
Well, Michael Smerconish may be a fine guy and a great talk show host and a genius as a lawyer. He's such a great lawyer, he decided to give up law and become a talk show host. I told Michael, I'm telling you, get a copy of the United Nations Charter, and you'll find out stupid Smerconish, whose ego is bigger than his brain, we are not permitted to go into Pakistan because Pakistan was not part of the axis of evil when President Bush asked the United Nations to go into Iraq or Afghanistan. We are not permitted by UN sanction, and this is a UN sanctioned operation. We're not permitted. Michael, bald-headed with a beard, you look like a horse's patoot. We're not permitted to go into Pakistan unless we go into the United Nations and ask permission to go into Pakistan to root out Osama bin Laden with the graces of the Pakistan government. And I mentioned that 67% of the people in Pakistan support Osama bin Laden and the terrorists and the international jihad. But Michael's too self-aggrandizing himself to read you. He'll read the transcripts of the Mumia Abu Jamal case, but he won't read the United Nations Charter to know why we can't go into Pakistan. Michael, I give you more credit than that, but you are a horse's patoot. That's the answer to that chat. Now to my argument with Michael Medved, the genius, on Talk Radio at 990. Michael is thrilled about the fact that Rick Warren he's the minister of Saddleback Church, invited John McCain and Barack Obama to discuss the politics in his church. Apparently, Michael, stupid Jew Medved, doesn't realize something. And many of you folks may not either. And this is your doctrine and your degree, and God bless you for it. Do whatever you want to with it, but facts are facts, and truth is truth. The three major religions of the world today is Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Although Judaism is a minority, number-wise, we're pretty smart people. There's a reason for it that we'll go into one of these days. Christianity believes in conversion. Islam believes in conversion. You must convert and accept Jesus as your personal Savior. And if you're an Islamist or a Muslim, you must accept the Prophet Muhammad as your prophet, as the prophet of God. Jews do not try to convert anyone. We don't try to convert anybody. So one of the questions that Rick Warren of the Saddleback Church asked McCain and asked Obama, your religious beliefs. And both responded that they go to Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. And if that's their belief, fine. Both John McCain and Barack Obama, it may be your belief too. But Medved is a Jew, at least he says he is. And my question to you, Michael, and others like you out there, you self-hating Jews that would lead Jews like me into the ovens in Germany, what the hell difference is it to you, Michael, if they accept Jesus as their personal Savior? What the hell does it mean to you, Michael? As a Jew, what the hell does it mean to you? What about the people of Islam that don't accept Jesus as their personal Savior in America? They pay the same taxes as McCain and Barack Obama, as anyone who supports and believes the theory that Jesus Christ is their personal Savior. So Michael, as a Jew, what the hell does it mean to you? You don't accept Jesus as your personal Savior, yet you're bragging about the fact that Rick Warren has such a wonderful question of the two political candidates running for President of the United States. Is this an idiot or is this an idiot? The Jewish Anti-Defamation League went after me because I made comments about Bill Gray, former Congressman Gray. Oh, they went after me like the hammers of hell. I was excommunicated from some rabbinical group. Then they put me back again when they found out the whole program. One of the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith asked Michael Medved on 300 radio stations or 600 radio stations, Mr. Medved, Super Jew, what's it mean to you that they accept Jesus Christ as their personal Savior? That you were extolling the virtues of that interview last Saturday night for almost 2 days on your radio program. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the idiocy, the stupidity, and it is a frustration that I have that may appear that I'm an angry man. Believe me when I tell you, I am not an angry man. Frustrated, seeing the diminution of my country because of idiots that control the airways when they shouldn't. But I'm not angry. I'm angry and hurt because I see my country going to hell. And as far as Air America, which is supposed to be the liberal counterpart to conservative radio, I believe in a conspiracy, and that conspiracy is that the conservatives of America own and operate those nutty liberals on Air America, because when I tell you, they are crazy. They are a disgrace to liberalism. They're a disgrace to talk radio, a bigger disgrace than intelligent conservative radio. My only wish is that you start thinking for yourself. I'm Irv Homer, to be continued.